Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. I want to cast your minds back to the 80s, the 90s. It's Friday night and you're going to your local video store. It was like a rite of passage. It was a tradition. It was the best feeling in the world when you clocked off from school for the week. You had the weekend ahead. You got to go rent some videos, some games. You can have some friends over. Life was fucking good. Now, you made your way to the adult section, trying to see if anyone would see if you were going to sneak into that section, and you thought you were in the clear. You thought you were fine. You thought you were so bloody sneaky you'd pulled it off. To go pull it off. Until the clerk came over, kicked you out of the adult section, but then it was time to cruise past the horror section and see some of the glorious VHS covers that, quite frankly, they did not hold back from back in the day when it came to gore and violence and stuff like that. Was on 80s and 90s horror VHSs. Today, I want to talk about 5 particular Australian horror VHSs, and by Australian, I mean printed and manufactured here in Australia, that are super rare, some that you wouldn't even expect. Now, the reason why we have such rare VHSs that fetch quite a pretty penny is because we don't print as many as, say, the United States or the United Kingdom. And going back to the covers, we didn't hold back. Like, Australia was brutal when it came to some of the covers. There was a lot of gore. Like, the ones that come to mind were the Hellraiser ones, and I'm actually going to be touching on a particular Hellraiser VHS in this video. We also had Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Like, there was some brutal imagery on these covers, and also just the smell of the video store. It was like mussed grandpa's bowls and just off stale popcorn and hopes and dreams. Now, I'd say these are in a particular order, but at the same time, they're in no real particular order. I'm trying to gauge with the price point and have number 1 as the most expensive, but these jump a lot in terms of price. And also that varies with condition of the piece. You're like, of the clamshell, of the tape itself, if the tape has mold, which can be a pretty common occurrence, but it can be rectified pretty easily. And there's also tutorials here on YouTube of how to get rid of mold. So I actually have some Elm Street tapes that have a bit of mold on them, just little speckles here and there, but there are tutorials where you can indeed get rid of the mold. So I want to give an honorable mention to one that I guess you could say is the rarest on this whole list and the most valuable, but there is next to no information about it. Possibly one of you who watches this video could shed some light on this down in the comment section. But it's from the 1980s and it's called Evil in the Woods. This film came out in 1986, and I've tried to research as best as I can to get my facts straight. As far as I know, there were a total of 10 VHSs printed and 2 promo VHSs printed here in Australia. It's a pretty schlocky horror movie, but as far as I'm concerned and as far as I know and from what I can read, it is the most valuable Australian VHS out there. So much so, I couldn't even find a proper photo of it. See this right here? This is the best I can find courtesy of a VHS-based Facebook page. This dude collects all the old school VHSs from back in the day. So I'm going to pop that in an honorable mention because I don't really have enough information on it, let alone a price. Now, starting off at number 5 is a VHS I actually own. It's the 1985 print of A Nightmare on Elm Street by Wes Craven, originally from 1984, that was made here in Australia. This is a super rare one. A lot of you guys, if you're watching this who are Australia based, might remember seeing this back in the day in the VHS store. Now, the reason why this is so rare, it actually is a double-sided cover. So you see the blood spray on the cover. Well, if you were the clerk and you didn't want the blood spray on there, you could take it out, flip it over, and there'd be no blood spray on there. Now, I actually haven't really opened this thing up on camera. So in terms of the condition and all that, it's pretty damn good. There's no mold on this one. I've actually played it on my parents' VHS tape, and it looks great. It's so cool to witness this on VHS. The inside as well. So does this have an address of where it was? No. Because you know sometimes you get the video store and it has the address? Actually, let me take the cover out for you guys just to show you. Very carefully taking this out. So this is a bit worse for wear, this side with stickers, but then you can flip it over. And this is nice and pristine. So yeah, the clerk had the option of non-bloody or bloody. Now, usually the price range for these varies. I got this for 250 Australian dollars back in the day. I wouldn't say it's in bad condition. It's just more or less the video store stickers that are on there. You know, you've got remnants of stickers and stuff like that that are actually on the clamshell itself. For the most part, it's in decent condition, but I've seen these VHSs sell for upwards of 600 Australian dollars, which is crazy. And like for the whole collection, which I do have, you're looking about a grand, just over a grand, but also again, condition of the clamshell. Is there mold on the tape? But this is the one I was after. This was the last piece in the Australian VHS Elm Street puzzle. So glad I got it, because this is the one I always remember. I always remember seeing this cover in the video store, looking at the back, and I'm like, why is there a man on fire on top of a lady in bed? What the fuck? Coming in at number 4 is a really sick looking clamshell case. It's Fright Night 2 from none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Lee Wallace. I love Fright Night 2. It's an absolute hoot. And the VHS packaging here in Australia for a certain edition was fucking incredible, as you can see right here. The coffin style VHS clamshell, and I love the Fright Night 2 poster. There's something just so badass about it. I equate it to like the Creep Show posters, the original Elm Street poster. There's just something so beautiful about it, where a lot of the times the poster is better than the film itself. But I remember seeing this particular version back in the day with the coffin clamshell. Didn't think much of it, but you're like, damn, that is pretty cool. Nowadays, this fetches upwards of around 500 to 600 Australian dollars. And it's crazy to think back in the day, we're in the video store, we're seeing all these VHSs, thinking nothing of it in terms of value. But again, considering we don't print as many VHSs, or we didn't print as many VHSs as the United States and the United Kingdom, this is just a great little addition. Now, I am trying to find eBay auctions as I go through the list. Now, this particular one was selling for 300, and it's in pretty good condition. It's from a third-party website, but again, I've seen these sell upwards of between 500 and 600 Australian dollars. A really neat piece nonetheless, and it actually reminds me of the Freddy's Dead edition, where they had an extra panel on the front of the VHS, and then you pulled it over, and then you had the glove, the sweater, and the fedora. Those ones are pretty expensive and rare as well, but a lot of the times the clamshell is absolute dog shit. Coming in at number 3, it's the Australian VHS release of Halloween 2 from 1981, and I found an eBay listing. It is currently up for sale for 900 Australian dollars. And the interesting thing is, with the cover, it gives fuck all away on the back. There is no photos from Halloween 2. If anything, it's a preview of upcoming titles, particularly Deadly Blessing and Rabid. And I distinctively remember seeing this VHS in the store, turned it over, I'm like, what is going on? This looks like the boringest film ever. Why is it rated R? This is the most expensive I've seen it listed for. Like I've seen it listed in the past for like 5, 6, 7, 8, never $900. But this particular one looks in pretty good condition. Again, when it came to Halloween, specifically Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, and we still have to get to Halloween 1 in this list, there weren't many around. Actually, yeah, properly looking at the condition, the clamshell is in amazing condition. The tape itself looks great. Looks like a label's come off, but they still include it nonetheless, which is fucking amazing. Coming in at number 2 is one I vividly remember, and for the longest time, I have been after. So much so, there was an eBay listing a few weeks ago. The seller sent me an offer, and I was gonna take it, and then it sold. But I'm actually glad, because it was in really shit condition, and that is the Hellraiser 1 and 2 double VHS clamshell box set. So what I love about this particular cover is this right here: banned in Queensland. So it has it on IMDb that the film was banned in the Australian state of Queensland in 1989. In the years since, the ban has been lifted and the film has been seen on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray in the state. So you get Hellraiser 1 and Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Again, going into the VHS store, I remember seeing this one, turning it over and thinking, why are there 3 people naked in a hot tub and a chain's going through them? Not only that, on the back cover as well, you get the infamous deleted surgeon scene of Pinhead and the female Cenobite in the surgeon scrubs. We now have that readily available online, because apparently to Doug Bradley, they didn't film it at all, but they actually did, and they included a production still on the back of this VHS. Now, usually these sell from between 500 to 900 Australian dollars. not $5, 500 to 900 Australian dollars. Now, the particular eBay auction that was up a couple of weeks ago, the clamshell was in such bad condition. Like, I'm talking when these things get sun damage that they turn from clear to yellow and they could literally just break into dust. You could do a Thanos snap and the thing would just disintegrate. And I was umming and ahhing, do I get it? And the seller sent me an offer for like 500 and something. I'm like, oh, should I? And thankfully it got snapped up because I think I saved my ass, because as cool as it is, I don't think I would have been getting my money's worth. Look, the hunt still continues. I am out to find one eventually, because I remember just seeing this and it's so cool. And it was so unheard of at the time, like a double VHS box set. The fact that it says banned in Queensland, scenes in this film may cause offense. Like, I love that shit, man. Sometimes we are such sooks. And I love that this particular cover, $2.99 weekly hire. What a fucking bargain. And coming in first is the Halloween 1978 Australian VHS release, particularly the media edition. This infamous VHS in damn good condition can fetch upwards of thousands of Australian dollars. I remember there was an article published years ago, and for the life of me, I tried to find it for this particular video. A pristine condition one sold for around 10,000 Australian dollars, which is insane. There is one up on auction now for 850 Australian dollars. Again, when it came to the first two original Halloween films, there were like limited pressings done of the VHSs. At least this time with the cover, they show stills from the film. You get a good shot of Laurie, you get a good shot of the shape, instead of a preview for two upcoming films. Woo! Now, I know that I put Halloween 2 in third place and the current auction is $900, but the reason why I put Halloween 1, the media edition, at number 1 is because I have seen it in the past go for over $1,000 on eBay. And then obviously that article where it went for about 10,000 Australian dollars. Absolutely insane. Even when it comes to day bill posters from the original Halloween and also Halloween 2, they go for an absolute mozza, like hundreds of Australian dollars, which is crazy because, again, limited, because they didn't know the film was going to be such a juggernaut that it is today. Like, the legacy just keeps living on, but back then they just thought it was going to be a pissy little horror film. And there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Again, it just popped into my head and I'm like, man, we have some really rare VHSs here in Australia, and I had to do a deep dive. I'm like, okay, like, what do we got here in terms of price points? So yeah, it'd be so cool to own that Fright Night 2 coffin clamshell and that Hellraiser double VHS box edition. Just, it was so cool. And just the fact that it says banned in Queensland, some scenes may offend. I love shit like that, man. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.